Yes, hello guys. I am the host of the Ray E Experience podcast. Ray E. Today it's our third episode, and it's about the educator's perspective on the issue of women's right to education in Afghanistan. So we have our guest today, and you could introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Donghui. I'm Mr. Donghui and I teach science and mathematics at CSIS.
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Shin, for being here at my podcast, and it's a great honor for me to be able to address these issues with you. And yeah, I hope you have a good time together today.
Likewise.
Yep. So the first question that I wanted to ask you is, as a educator, as a teacher, how do you feel when you hear that the Afghan girls are banned from attending school?
I did not know much about the current situation in Afghanistan, how Taliban actually banned education beyond primary education for girls mainly. And I recently learned about this, and as an educator, it's really devastating because everybody should have equal rights to education because education is one thing that no one can take away from you. It's yours once you learn it, attain it, and you can build your future based upon it.
Yes, thank you for answer. I think it's very it's even more tragic because like I'm attending school and I'm learning and I'm able to access education, but then the people like from other part of the world, like we live in the same earth, but then like people in different countries, they're not able to like get the education that I'm able to get. So I think that situation, as you mentioned, teacher, was very devastating. So
Indeed.
yeah. And the second question is, from your experience teaching students, like including the female students and the male students as well, like how does this shape the way you understand the importance of education?
Um, so I've had some experience as teacher, teaching various ages of students, and let me think. The importance of education, I cannot stress this enough, but in this world of informational technology, I would say, having information or access to education is the key foundation that you can build your future upon. So everybody needs to have this access, not just men or women, but all across different ages. So it is important because it's one thing that does not depend on your wealth or your religious status or socioeconomic status. So everybody starts from the same starting line and you have equal opportunities as long as you have sound educational access. So in that respect, I think it's important, and especially for women, because if you think about just a few decades ago, even in Korea, not many women have access to higher education, and we've come along so far, and look how much we've achieved as a country. And I think that needs to be same for every country in the world.
Thank you for your answer. And the next question is, when you imagine your own students facing like restrictions, like you're a homeroom teacher of 10th graders, like when you imagine your own students facing restrictions like the Afghan girls do, what thoughts or maybe concerns do you think of?
So the first thing that comes to my mind is that these kind of bans, they are deeply rooted to the country's cultural foundation or religious beliefs. So luckily in Korea, we don't have any of those restrictions. So that's why we have free education. But in countries like Afghanistan, this ban is primarily due to Taliban thinking that if women had access to higher education, that would interfere with their traditional beliefs, which I believe is based upon the Islamic viewpoint.
Just a follow-up question, do you think we should really culturally respect their values, or should we really intervene and should we try to help the situation?
Well, it's 21st century and the boundaries are even less important compared to a couple centuries ago. So countries like in Afghanistan, the people in that country know that what they are treated, how they are treated is not right, even though they have those religious beliefs. So I believe something needs to be changed I do respect their religious beliefs in a way, but then it needs also to be changed depending on what era that we live in.
Mm. Thank you. And the fourth question is, why do you think education is seen as a threat? Because like the Taliban, I think they have a purpose in restricting the education for the Afghan girls. So why do you think it's education serves as a threat?
Primarily, I would have to guess that if women had access to higher education, then that would mean they would have more opportunities for different roles in the society. For example, in private industries, or maybe in teaching roles, academic fields, maybe even in religious areas too. And those Taliban religious leaders do not welcome this idea, and I guess that's why they are restricting this education for women.
I think it's also mainly because like education itself, I think with the access to education, they're able to the female students, like especially women, they're able to maybe like rebel against this. I think education gives a lot of power to the students, to the female. So I think that is also a reason why the Taliban purposely restricts education
I
from
agree.
people. Yep. So the fifth question is, why do you think the educators what do you think educators in schools around the world can realistically do to support to advocate for the girls' education in Afghanistan?
Since we're not part of that country, even as a citizen, there are limited things that we can do, but still, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try anything. But as an outsider, what we can do is that we can try to raise public awareness of this education situation in Afghanistan. So the more people in the world know about this, the more things that we can do about it. And maybe we can have some volunteers that would go into the country and support or provide community-based education. So it's not a formal school, but maybe a small group of teachers or any volunteers can go in a region and then provide education. I don't think the country would ban such such a voluntary activity. But most of all, organizations, powerful organizations like EU or UNICEF, they need to contact the government in Afghanistan or Taliban group leaders and have some sort of resolution so that the country as a whole would provide at least secondary education to women.
Yes, thank you for your answer.
Forgot one more thing.
Oh, yes.
Online education can be also a way
Online
too.
education.
And in order for that to happen, Afghan families need to have access to internet and laptops or computers maybe. So maybe those areas can be helped by different charity organizations throughout the world.
Yep, thank you for adding on to your answer, like online education. I think it's also like the technology is very developed to help. There's also artificial intelligence. I think we could utilize a lot of those to be able to help the Afghan girls in the country. And yes, the last question is like what is one message maybe you would like to share to the girls who are maybe restricted of education and maybe they're seeking hope?
Do not lose hope for the first part. I know the situation that you are in is tough and it's not by your decision or choice, but do what you can in these circumstances. So do not give up and seek out help from any organizations that you can reach out to. If you have access to internet, maybe reach out to UNICEF or other organizations. They can probably provide you with some sort of minimal access to education. We have various amazing platforms online that are either free or accessible to you. So I would encourage you to keep your hopes up.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Shin, for answering these questions. And moving on to the discussion questions. The first question is, do you think an individual can really make an impact, or do you think it's very difficult for individuals to make an impact, like in this issue?
Good question. If we lived in a society where there's no democracy and we don't have access to all these technologies, no internet, then I would say one person, one distinctive person, one talented person could make a huge impact to a country or society or even to the world. We see that a lot in history. couple thousands of years ago, we see a great hero shaping or changing the course of the history. But nowadays, we have so much technology, and everybody knows what others are doing. So in this kind of age, it's really difficult for one person to change, bring about a change, drastic change. So in this age, not just a person, but a group, maybe a leader, groups of leaders, or country, organizations, they need to step up in order to bring about a change.
I think for like just impacting like the local communities or like a shorter like range of impact, I think an individual can really act upon. But then, as you mentioned, like it's very difficult for that person to be able to change or like leave a very big impact in the world, because like we need like the world is very developed, and in order to create like a big impact in already developed world, I think it requires like next level of like ideas and people and like creativity. So I think an individual might be difficult, but then like maybe just small impact within a community, I think an individual can really fulfill that.
Yes.
And yeah. Yes, the next question is, do you think this issue regarding education for rights to education for women in Afghanistan will be ever solved? Like, do you think it's a it's a long issue that is it's an issue that's gonna last long, or do you think it could be really fixed within the years that like I guess we're all alive and yeah.
Considering where the Islamic culture comes from, unfortunately, I don't think this problem would be solved in any near future. So it's a very tough situation, tough problem that we have to solve together. And I do think it's going to take some time, especially it needs to, the mindset of the leaders, Taliban leaders, needs to be changed, but that's going to take some time.
Yeah, I think like the system itself is already there, so it's changing the whole system that's already there. It's a very difficult process, and maybe I think it would take like a few hundred years to be able to change that system. But then, as you mentioned, teacher, like it's very difficult at first, like within like short period of time to be able to change that, because we really need to change the people, the leaders, the dictators is like mindset, everything to be able to change it. But then that itself is very difficult because they already have their own beliefs. So
Right.
yes.
Ideology, that's always hard to change.
Yeah, I think they already have that belief, so it's just difficult to be able to change and adapt to a new system. So
Yes.
yeah, so that's all I had for today, and it was great for me to hear from your perspective as an educator, as well as I also appreciate you answering my questions. And how did you feel today?
I had a great fun. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my ideas, personal thoughts about these problems in Afghanistan.
Yes, so once again, thank you, Mr. Shin, for coming by to the Ray E Experience podcast. And this was the third episode and the last episode of my podcast. And thank you guys for watching, and bye bye.
Thank you, everybody.